How do you want to do this, Nancy? Or sorry, I always want to call you Nancy. Yes. Or
That's all right. It's totally fine.
Nancy and Ashley, and so it's like
Well, that's great. I'm ready to jump in. So
awesome.
everybody has been invited, and we have a few guests here. Hopefully more will come. And so we'll begin.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Monica, for joining me today on the Teach at Home Mom Zoom cast and sharing your story with us. So I got to go to a conference where you were speaking, and I talked to you for probably 2 hours about your books, and we just had such a fun time. I don't want to take any of your time. Just share with us what you will share with us, and I am so excited to be a student here and listen.
Okay, well, the theme for today is from monster mom to angel mom. So I'll start off with that. I grew up in abuse, and now before I don't share this to blame my parents or anything. In fact, I like to put a disclaimer on this that I honor and love my parents, and I know that they did the best they could with the information they were given and with what they had. And I am not dousing my parents at all when I share my story, because first of all, I'm sharing it from my perspective at the time. And my perspective at the time, it was very, very challenging for me. When I was raised in what a lot of people consider abuse. It was very harsh, very controlling environment. I remember hearing the words, "I love you," usually after a beating. And it was, "We do this because we love you." And I remember thinking, if this is what love is, I don't want to have anything to do with it. So I kind of shut myself off to love. I shut myself off to everything. I kind of built a wall around my heart, around my authentic self and everything. I didn't feel like it was safe to be me. And I chose to believe a lot of things in my childhood about myself, that I wasn't worthy, I wasn't good enough, I could say a few colorful words here too, but I will avoid that. But I really felt like I was less than the dust of the earth, okay? Really didn't have a lot of self-value. So, and again, this is how I chose to perceive the events that happened in my life and what I chose to believe. And so as much as I told myself I would never be that parent or I would just never be that person, I actually was married once before. I don't know if I told you that, Ashley, but yeah, I was married, and all of that stuff from my childhood came back up into my life, and that marriage failed miserably. Mm-hmm. In fact, it didn't even last 8 months.
Oh,
and
no.
It was like right out the chute, we just really were having some terrible struggles. And I actually became abusive in that relationship too. As all of this childhood trauma came up, it was just too much for both of us to handle. In fact, he had been raised in abuse as well. And so the baggage that both of us were carrying and bringing into that relationship was horrible. And again, I honor him for pushing all my buttons that he needed to help me purge a lot of that discord from my heart so that I could be who I needed to be. So going through that, and then when I married this amazing man, Frank, he provided this unconditionally loving environment for me to be whoever I chose to be. He didn't try to change me. He didn't say, do this and it'll help our marriage. He didn't tell me I should be like anybody else. He just loved me for me. And that was a tremendous lesson in my life. He started me thinking a little differently, started the mindset. It was a different mindset. And so he taught me that love can heal all. Okay, I'm kind of jumping ahead of the game a little bit, okay? But, I had this beautiful, beautiful relationship with him, and I just was not the same person that I remember being in it as a child. I was very rebellious. I really fought back. In fact, I I even took after my dad with a stack of plates, and I was totally going to crush them over his head. And I'm so glad something stopped me within inches of his head, because I mean, I could have had some serious repercussions of that little incident, right? I don't think I've ever shared that one publicly, but my sister actually stopped me energetically. I don't know how to, I don't really want to go into that right now, but it was like, I just had so much anger and rage in me. And I was this person around certain people. Certain people would trigger things in me, and I just didn't know how to react to them. Well, my husband, Frank, he didn't trigger me with anything, right? So I became this whole other person. It was like I could be all of who I was created to be in this unconditionally loving space. And it was very beautiful, beautiful to me. However, when I started having children, I thought, oh, I changed for good, right? And I started having children, and my children started triggering things in me. And I started reacting like my parents, because that was my example. Even though I knew that I didn't want to be like that, it's like all of a sudden, it's like, you need to do this. You need to fit into this box of expectations, right? And it was, it brought back this person who I used to be, and it reminded me of this past. And I didn't want to go there, but I didn't know how to change. I knew how my child deserved to be treated, but I didn't know how to show up any differently, really. Like my subconscious programming was just there. It's almost like I felt like my parents were possessing me, and I would say the same things, do the same things, act the same way that my parents did. And I was like, how do I shift this? How do I change this? And when I approached my child, he was in second grade, so he was about 7, 8 years old at the time. I believe that's the age. And I approached him just something simple, but he had fear in his eyes. I had conditioned him to fear me, to be afraid of me. I would show up as a drill sergeant and yell in his face, and I was very physically abusive as well. And I'm not proud of that. But at the same time, somebody told me once, they're like, if you really want to connect with people, share them the one thing that you would never want them to find out. Share that first thing. I'm like going, oh, this was like the heaviest thing on my plate. Here I was writing children's books, and I was empowering people to empower children. And here I had this deep, dark secret that I was abusive, But as I just own that and claim that, I found that I relate and inspire so many other people, because they see, I'm not here to try to pretend that I am this all magical being and I've always been perfect my entire life, No, this is something I've learned through my experiences, and I've come literally full circle or done a complete 180 in my life. But for me, when I saw that fear in my child's eyes, that was a wake-up call to me. And I just kind of, in my heart, my spirit, I put my foot down, and I said, I have got to change. I saw what I was creating in him, and I knew I had to change. So I poured out my soul to my creator. I don't know if you know what that feels like, but when you feel every ounce of energy pouring from the center and the core of your being out your heart, and you're saying, this is not just, words that are bouncing off the wall. This was every ounce of my being just being poured out to my creator and asking, pleading for help to change. I didn't know how. I knew how he deserved to be treated, but I didn't know how I could do it. And I didn't even know why I was treating him that way. He was a good boy, but I didn't know why I was treating him that way. In fact, when I found literally within a week, I found myself in a training where I connected the dots why I was treating him that way. And you want to know what I connected with? it was a belief that I had in my head that I chose to believe when I was a child. You know that? Okay, because of my experiences with men in my past, all of the men in my past, I made a conscious choice to believe that boys were bad and girls were good. And I didn't want to have any boys. I only wanted to have girls. I would play with girls all day long, right? And I didn't want to have any boys. Well, when my first child was a boy, deep down, I would not dare admit this to anybody, but deep down, I was devastated. I was like, how am I going to do this? Boys are bad, right? They just have this natural tendency to be like this. And I'm like, wait a second. I'm his mom. Bright idea, right? I'm his mom, and I can teach him, I can train him, and I can make him be a good boy, right? Oh, wrong. I was fitting him in my box of expectations, and he was fighting to get free. In fact, this reminded me exactly how I grew up. My parents putting me in a box of expectations, and I was rebelling and fighting to get free. So if you have a child that is rebellious or struggling or whatever, chances are you're probably trying to fit them in a box of expectations. Whether it's society, whether it's religion, whether it's your own personal belief that 6 inches between your brain, some people are like, this is our family image. We want to have this perfect family image of what the family should look like, and that's what people they put this mask or this image out for public, but inside their homes, they're really struggling to keep it all together. Well, that's where we were at. We had that perfect image out in public, and because I would be like, shh, don't say this, do this, sit this way, be this way. I was micromanaging every single decision of their lives. And I realized that was not working. In fact, I had this vision that if I continued in that direction, our relationship would look like this. He'd be off doing drugs and in gangs, and he was already getting citations in school and hanging out with the wrong crowd, if you want to call it that. But it was a challenge, and I didn't want that. I didn't want that. I wanted to have a good relationship with my child where he would come to me. We would have an open relationship, and he could trust me to disclose his deepest, darkest secrets, per se. I wanted to be that person he could trust. Anyway, so when I connected with that belief that the boys were bad, girls were good, and that I was trying to fit him in my box of expectations, I was like, oh, well, that's not true. I know that now as an adult, but once I was able to connect with that and dispel the lie or the misbelief or whatever, then I was able to let go of that. And I want to share with you the difference, okay? When I returned home after going to that training, connecting with that belief and letting it go, it was a 4-day training. I came back from that 4-day training, and I approached my son and gave him a hug. Now, let me just get back up a little bit. Before I went to the training, this is what hugs look like. Shoulder hug. Love you, Mom. It was customary in our house that we gave hugs and kisses, but he felt forced to give me hugs and kisses. So he'd just give a shoulder. He wouldn't even wrap his arms around me. He'd just go, love you, Mom. That was it. So after I returned from this training, it was like, I love you, Mommy, so much. And it was like a 3-minute hug. 3 minutes. I kid you not. We were just there forever. And I wanted to hold on to him just as much as he wanted to hold on to me, and vice versa, And I thought, well, this is just, I'm coming back from this beautiful event, and I've got this beautiful energy and stuff, and he's missing me. I've been gone for 4 days, right? Didn't think much of it until the whole entire week, and the next week, and the next week, he would come up to me and hold me and give me these 3-minute hugs. It wasn't just a one-time thing, and I'm like, wait a second. I asked him, I said, I don't remember hugs like this. Did you not love me before? And he goes, yeah, I loved you before. I'm like, but I don't remember hugs like this. So what changed? And he said, you changed, Mom. he noticed
Wow.
the energetic difference was just shifted. It was changed completely. It was my perspective that changed. When I changed my perspective and I approached him with different energy, the whole energy in the house shifted. My love for him, I was able to love him more fully. I was able to love myself more fully, getting rid of those training. And this training isn't a training where you sit down and they teach you all these things and they tell you this is how it is, or this is what you need to believe, or anything like that. It wasn't like that. It was an experiential training. So my training there was an individualized training. Nobody else got the training that I got because I got the training right here. Okay. It was an experiential training. So when I connected with my creator and I received these, if you want to call them downloads, revelations, whatever, these ahas, these insights, this was my personalized instructions for me. And I learned that I did not have to be the victim of my life, that I could be the powerful creator of my life. I didn't have to blame God. I didn't have to blame my parents. I didn't have to blame anybody else for my life. And I didn't have to live that life. I didn't have to live that lie anymore. I could choose from then on to create something different in my home, in my heart, my family, and in the world. So what did I choose to create at this point? Okay, so then I'm like, oh, well, I want to create love and peace and joy and connection and happiness and all these beautiful things, right? I want to create what I think feels like heaven on earth. So I set out to do that. And I was like, well, how can I create that? And how can I create that? And as I learned that I was a powerful creator, I came home and I taught my son, my oldest son, who could comprehend at this point, right, that he was a powerful creator. And I asked him 2 simple questions. What do you choose to create today? Well, I told him, first of all, that we can create more than just things with our hands. We can create with our hearts. We can create love, peace, joy, and all that. But sometimes we create sadness, fear, distrust, and other things too that are heavy and not very pleasant to experience, right? But I asked him, what do you choose to create today? And he said, happiness. And I said, well, what does happiness feel like? And we described what happiness felt like. And then I asked him, well, how can you go about creating that? And when he came up with his own ideas. I didn't have to tell him how to create happiness. He was like, I can do this and this and this. And he came up with his own ideas. And I was like, wow, just have fun creating it, right? And one thing that's really, really important about this, because this is this is the story of my first children's book, You Are a Powerful Creator, My Little One Creating Happiness. It literally was the moment I came home from this training, got rid of the belief, the lie that boys were bad, girls were good, right? Get rid of that lie that I chose to believe when I was a child. And when I was able to get rid of that, and I came home and I sat in my lap, and literally this is the conversation we had. So this is literally the moment of shift. This first book is the moment of shift from 180 in our lives, from this abuse, this life of victimhood and blame, to a life of powerful creator. And it really was the simple 2 questions that are introduced in the book. If you're interested in the book, actually the first it's the first edition hardcover autographed copy. You're going to find it at youareapowerfulcreator.com. It's as simple as that. So, and it's only $10. So if you want that, I just was making that little plug. But that story was just so powerful because it became the framework now for empowering children. Now, it does not just about the 2 questions, because as I just shared with you, it was a change of energy. It was a state of a way of being. I didn't approach it like I would have in the past. The energy in the past would have been, what are you creating today? You get the energy from there?
Yeah.
Or what do you choose to create today? You see the openness, the allowing, and all of that. I literally detached. I was able to detach his choices from reflecting on me. Because a lot of people as parents, I don't know if you've experienced this, but do something bad, you're looking at everybody else, oh, they're going to think I'm a bad parent because my kid's acting like this. So I need to make sure he's acting good so they can think I'm a good parent, right? Welcome to the world, right? But I had to detach from that. I really did. I had to allow his choices to be his choices. They didn't reflect on me at all. He came here for his own journey. I'm going to say it in general, but this experience specifically was with one child. I learned that he came here to be who he was created to be. And he was just in my stewardship for a while. I was to teach him what I could, but he ultimately came with his own personality, his own set of blueprints, his own purpose, his own interests, desires, passions, and all of that. They're already programmed inside of him. And for me to try to make him be anything that he wasn't was not working. So then I had to learn how to tap into his divine blueprint and who he was created to be. And so I started asking questions. I couldn't tell him who to be. I just had to start asking questions. I'm like, well, who do you choose to be? What do you choose to create today? And then letting his creation be his creation and letting him experience the results of his creation. Like if he said he chose to create happiness in the book, for example. And there was a point in the day where they were playing with their toys and outside with their friends, and he wasn't sharing with his brother. He kept telling his brother to wait and wasn't giving him a turn. And his brother, I don't know if you had kids that don't like to share, they're like, it's mine. They're possessive of the one toy or whatever. Well, he was acting like that. And his brother comes in and walks past me and he goes to his bedroom all sad. And I could have, as a parent, I could have come in as the helicopter parent. I could have been like, oh, poor Andre. And, oh, Francesco, what are you doing? Or what did you choose to create today? But I just was observing. I became the observer parent instead of the helicopter parent or the authoritarian parent telling him what to do. So he walks by me and I just allow this process to take place. And I noticed what was happening outside a little bit. And I then asked Francesco, I just called out to him as a reminder, but a loving reminder. And I said, Francesco, what did you choose to create today? And he goes, happiness. And he stands up, straight and tall, big smile on his face. And I just asked, oh, is that happiness just for you? Because I was clarifying what his creation was. Because are you just creating that happiness for you, or is this happiness for everyone? And immediately he was like, he was looking around, where's my brother? Oh, is my brother sad? And he had an idea because he knew what he was doing. In fact, I asked him later and he said, oh yeah, I was telling him to wait and I wasn't giving him a turn. And so he immediately realized when I asked that question that he had left his brother out. So he went, I just told him, you might want to check that out. So he went to the bedroom and he gave his toy to his brother. He says, here, you can play with my toy and let's go play. And they rejoined their friends. His brother's happy. They created happiness the rest of the day, right? Well, this was so powerful to me. This was an education experience for me because I learned that, excuse me, if I wasn't constantly micromanaging my children, then they could actually make better choices than I would make for them. When children are consciously creating happiness, guess what? You don't have to tell them to share. You don't have to tell them to be nice to your brothers, stop hitting, share with so-and-so. And that, do you know how much weight that takes off you as a parent? I can't even imagine not having to, I can't imagine now. I can't imagine going back to that, actually, of managing every decision for my child, because today things look so entirely different. My kids are constantly being conscious creators. I don't experience fighting. Like, if they have a disagreement, okay. I just have to share this one because it's so funny. Okay, they had the oldest and the youngest. So Francesco's now 17. The youngest is 7. And Kaylee, that's Kaylee. And they had a little disagreement. Kaylee was not happy with something Francesco did, and she ran downstairs, and then she came back up and she goes, I put a booger in your room. So she got back at her brother, but that was the way she chose to get back at her brother. And I just laughed so hard that it's like, we don't have hitting and fighting the way that the worst thing she can do is put a booger on his wall in his room. That was just, that was just so hilarious. Anyway, but it's so different. The environment is so different today. When I ask my children to do something that I hear, okay, mommy, I love you. I'm like, sometimes I have to take a double take and like, is this real? Is this really happening? And they really do say that. They say, okay, mommy, I'll do it. And I love you. Because first of all, I don't encourage obedience. Oh, is that really bad? I don't tell my children to be obedient to me because I don't believe that I know everything, and I'm still learning. I'm still in my process. If I ask them to do something and if it doesn't work for them, I ask them to please talk to me and share with me their perspective. Because if it doesn't work for them, I don't want to force them into something that doesn't work. If seriously, sometimes us as parents, we're like, okay, I'm really going to exaggerate. Okay, go jump off the cliff. Be obedient because I said so. I'm like, no, if it's something that they don't feel in their heart or doesn't resonate with them, it's important that they share that with me. And I want that interaction with my children. I don't want them to be obedient to me and do it because I said so. So that's something. And so when I'm asking them to do something, oftentimes they will just honor me and do it. Like even like asking favors or things like that. Anyway, I just kind of went off on that little tangent. But
can I pause you just for a second because
sure.
Jennifer has a question. Let me unmute you,
Yes.
Jennifer. What is your question? Okay, you should be audible. Yes.
Are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I actually don't have a question. I was just like applauding the not being obedient thing. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, that was really huge for us. And it was more, we chose to create honor, respect, that more of that feeling. So really the things that we create in our home are more feelings. It's not, you need to do this, you need to do that. In fact, chores look different too. It's like we're creating beauty. It's not like you have to do this and this and this. Your job, your if you want to say responsibility or whatever, everybody's in charge of a different room. You could call it chores if you want, but that always had a heavy feeling for me. So I'm like, well, this person is the manager of this room, and their job is to maintain beauty or to create beauty in that room, whatever that looks like. So they may choose to do one thing to create beauty. In fact, it gives them the freedom also to express themselves. And so then I find a little things like they'll make a little arrangement somewhere in the corner and they're like, oh, look what I did. I'm like, wow, that is amazing. And giving them the freedom to really express themselves from within is really beautiful. Yeah, our life just really looks different, and it's not anything that I learned from anywhere, what we're creating in our home. In fact, one of the things that I had to do, because I had all of these outside voices, like I had society, my parents' teachings, even religion and all these other things, all these voices in my head telling me I should do this to be happy. You know, I should do this. I should do this. You have to do this. I had to get rid of all the shoulds, the have tos. I had to shut out all of the voices in my head because I was so obedient. Okay. I was the obedient one, and I wasn't happy because I was trying to do all these things that everybody told me to do, and I wasn't happy. And so I shut them out, and I started listening right here. And what I was listening to was a vibration. And humor me for just a moment, okay? I want you to be able to feel and tune into the vibrations, okay, of words, of feelings, and things like that, okay? Tune in for just a moment. Just take a deep breath. Clear your space a little bit. And tune into your heart and chest area. And it may just be a knowing for you. You may not feel it, but just feel for just a moment. And if you can type in the chat box or whatever when I ask you the question, if you want to type in there, then do that. But I want you to feel into the word and feeling anger. What does it feel like? Anger. And go ahead and type in the chat box. Depressing, heavy, good. Red and grasping, okay? So you see a color, red and grasping. Good. So if you feel that heavy and constrictive energy that just is like pulling you down, it's caving you in, that is a really low vibration. I learned to tune into vibrations. So what you're feeling there is that low vibration. Now I want you to shake it off. Take a deep breath. Okay. Now feel into the word and feeling joy. What does joy feel like? Light, airy. Good. Teresa. Or Tria. Full, bright, growing. Exactly. So I'm getting this open and expansiveness, right? And so that's a higher vibration, and it feels light and expansive and is a very pleasant feeling. The other one isn't so pleasant, but I started to, instead of saying good and bad and all of that, I got to get rid of the judgment words and just see it from an observer's perspective. This is heavy. This is light. I like the light feeling. I don't like the heavy feeling. And so I started creating my world, creating my experience with my children and my home by that compass. If I was creating this light, expansive feeling of love, peace, joy, connection, trust, beauty, all of that, that is what I chose to experience. Would I experience the other things once in a while? Yeah, I would, but I would learn from that experience that I didn't want to do that again. And I'm like, okay, how did I create that so I can avoid creating that in the future and then create something different? So speaking of that, and we talked a little bit in the beginning about perspective, I learned that how I chose to perceive the events in my life determined how I felt about them. It determined my state of being. And I read a very powerful children's book one day that really gave me a different perspective on the abusers in my life, if you want to call them abusers. I call them very beautiful gifts to my life now because I see it from a different perspective. But the children's book is called The Little Soul and the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. And I learned also from that how powerful children's books can be, even to adults, when they have powerful principles in them. So I chose to create more books, not exactly like that, but more children's books that had powerful principles that could apply, even though they were written in the form of a children's book, they could apply across the board, to children, youth, and adult alike. So in this children's book, it talks about beings of light, that we're all light, but one little soul wants to come down to earth and experience itself as forgiveness. But that God says, oh, there's just one problem. I've only created light. I've created nothing but light. So there's no one to forgive. And then there's another little soul that stands up and he says, I will volunteer to come down into your life and lower my vibration to give you someone to forgive, so that you can experience yourself as forgiveness. And we have this beautiful opportunity in this life to experience the dichotomy and the duality of life. And literally the only way, anyway, I don't know if it's the only way, but to experience a joy is to be on the opposite end of that and experience the sorrow and the sadness. I remember being at the depths of my life where it was at the point of committing suicide, but I don't even know where I heard this from, but I remember thinking the depths of your sorrows will be the heights of your joy. The depths of your sorrows will be the heights of your joy. And I remember thinking, if I can make it through this moment, then I will be dang happy someday. If I can just make it through this moment. So I just allowed that depth. I honored, well, at the time it was very, very difficult. I actually had to call my mom at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning just to help me make it through the night. And I was so, so grateful for her to be there for me for that. Which was very beautiful. But just to be able to make it through and have it, and then I've been able to make it through and experience this ecstatic joy on the other side and love that I never even knew was possible. And now I feel divine love just flowing through me, flowing through my heart space. And where most people, if you understand what chakras are and energy centers, most people's heart chakra is about like this big. Some of them are really closed or whatever. I remember mine was like, I had just had a brick wall. I had a fortress around mine. But now I feel like it's like, you can't even see it in the screen, but it's like clear out here. And I just feel the energy of this unconditional divine love flow through me. And I don't, judgments. I mean, yeah, we all go through our layers and stuff, but just I can't say no judgment because we're constantly observing and making little judgments and stuff like that. But just my focus is to emanate love, this divine love on the planet. And it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful, expansive feeling. And so that's what I'm all about creating now. And so I was talking to Ashley and saying, it's really hard where I'm at now. It's really hard to go back and remember. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go back to remember what it was like. It was a very pleasant experience. But at the same time, I know that it's important for me to go back and dip my toe into that to really appreciate where I'm at. But not only that, in a way, I don't want to say lower my vibration, but be able to reflect on that so that other people can relate and I can assist with empowering and inspiring people through bridging it to the other side to be able to be the angel moms that they were designed to be, right? We all have this experience of being this monster parent. I'm sure you wouldn't be here most likely if you haven't experienced that, and the feeling of you've felt your forehead just like all the muscles just tensed and being so angry at a child or whatever. Well, just a different perspective on that, just so you know, thinking that it's the child's fault is false. Oh, can I say that? When you're blaming another person, I see my hand here, I'm actually giving my power away. The energy is going to that person, saying that you have the power to make me feel this way. You have the power to make me do this or whatever. That is giving our power away. We choose. Our state of being is literally created by how we're perceiving things. If we choose to perceive that our child is bad, sick, and wrong, and that they've got problems and all of this, guess what? It's going to create some discord within ourselves. But when we choose to see our children as these divine light beings, these angels that have come to this planet to create, to shift humanity and to shift the world, and they already came with their own divine blueprint, and all we have to do is tap into it and guide them through their process. It's not our responsibility as parents to make them or force them to be anything. In fact, stop putting them in the box of expectations of society, because these children have come for a completely different purpose. They're here to create heaven on earth. So we got to get out of the way. We got to get all of that past programming out of the way and let them do their job, guide them and empower them to do their job. So one thing I just really, really like to do is empower children. I feel like that's one of my main purposes on this planet at this time, that I'm choosing to make a difference in this way. I feel like this is my niche, because I did not feel an empowered child. All my choices were taken from me and made for me. In fact, communication was not a forte, but I've learned to communicate with my children. I've learned to create something different. And I love to share the wisdom with other people. Now, technology is not my forte. It probably would have been once upon a time, considering that I thought about being an electronic engineer at one point. But no, it's not now, because I live in this whole different realm of things. But I have created a video, and it's called The Secret to Empowering Children. If you would like a copy of this video, it's a training video. It's maybe 15, 20 minutes long. If you would like a copy of this video, please send me an email, or you can visit my website and just send me a little link through there. At the bottom of each page, there's a way to contact me. So go to Monica Iglesias author.com. So that's Monica. Iglesias is spelled Iglesias. And then author, AUTHOR. There you go. Thank you, Nancy. She just put it up there for everyone on the chat box. Yes, Monica Iglesias, author.com. And at the bottom of every page, just put in a little thing there that said, I would like a copy of The Secret to Empowering Children. And I will send that video to you for free. And because it's so powerful, I want every parent to know how to empower their children. The first thing at the very beginning that we talked about was empowering our children by, it's not just what we say, but it's how we say it, and it's our way of being. So one thing I'm going to emphasize here is the best investment you can make in your child is investing in yourself, in your own personal healing. Because most times the problems that you're seeing in your children, I'm being the whistleblower here, okay? The problems that you're seeing in your children is probably your creation. I'm saying it because I was the one that was creating this in my child. When I changed, he changed. And it was beautiful to see that change and just step back and allow him to be the powerful creator he is today. I could tell you stories of the amazing things that he creates. He's such a beautiful, beautiful soul. In fact, he is such a deep thinker that we're always quoting him. We're like, oh, we got to write down that quote. He shared something just the other day, because I'm like, this particular one, my oldest child, he's not so social. He has his friends and stuff, but he doesn't hang out with his friends all the time. He hangs out with his brother. His brother is his best friend, which I'm not going to complain about that, right? And he also hangs out alone. And I asked him, I'm like, well, why don't you hang out more with your friends like your brother does, or whatever? And don't get into the comparison thing. I really didn't say like your brother does, but I said, I just was talking to him about it. And he said, well, when we hang out with our friends a lot, we become like our friends. But when we have that alone time, that's when we remember and discover who we are. I'm like, wow. Okay. Not going to hear any more from me about that. He puts me in my place a lot, and he is my greatest teacher, I will admit. He has been my greatest teacher in my entire life. Wow. And we've really struggled. We've butt heads. He's a strong personality. A lot of people would call him ADHD. He struggled with his grades in school, but once I got out of the way and just let him create his own grades, and I'm like, okay, what kind of student do you choose to be? And how can you go about doing that? And he manages to keep his grades up for the most part and play soccer and do all of that. And his soccer is his passion. So, I mean, it was me stepping out of the way. Stop getting in there and saying, you need to do this, you need to do this. He just felt so overwhelmed when I would do that. So I just get to get out of the way, maybe ask him questions, support him. I do ask him, how can I support you? How can I support you in who you choose to be? So I know we're getting close to time. I do have one other thing. I do a radio show. It's called Angel Moms in Training, and it's on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. If you're on Facebook, you can go to Angel Moms in Training, and you can find the group and just ask to join the group, and we'll let you in. So you can get all the information on that. It's on Mondays at 11 p.m. Actually, the 11 p.m. ends up being Sunday night because it's 1 a.m., 1 p.m. Eastern time. So we're 2 hours earlier in Mountain time. So the nighttime ends up being on Sunday. But yeah, it has the two airings. Can I say that? It's aired twice on Mondays. Actually, I just corrected that before. So listen to that one before. There you go. So Ashley put up the information on that group. So if you want to join that, and we talk about different challenges the parents have, but from a conscious and a soul-based perspective. And I share a lot of what I've learned, but I also bring guests on. The one this Monday, we have a guest. Her name is Lydia Tavern. Children, 4 of which were quadruplets, and they were all under the age of 4. Okay. But she's managed to still be her contribution to the world. So it's like, do you have to sacrifice yourself as a parent? That's kind of what the topic of our discussion is. It is a very beautiful discussion from a soul-based and conscious perspective. So yeah, Ashley, what else would you have me say or do?
Well, that was just great. That was amazing. And I'm so grateful that you were able to make time and be here with us today and share your story. I just love that. Like, we talked about hero stories where the antagonized victim becomes the conquering hero, and it really is. It's not a shift that comes from having accomplished something. It comes from committing and choosing to change and create something different, something like our Creator would have us be creating, and that we actually want in our lives. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Does anybody else have any questions? Teresa says thank you for sharing, and learned a lot.
Thank you.
And I think Jennifer's joining us by phone. I'm unmuting you. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Oh, just, one other thing. Know that you are the perfect parent for your child. As much as I had to get rid of the beat up stick because I would beat myself up all the time for making mistakes, right? But get rid of the word mistake and see it as a learning opportunity and say, okay, that didn't work. Okay, how can I do it differently and do it differently? But also know that you're the perfect parent for your child. For Francesco, I showed up differently for him than I did with any of my other children. I was like a drill sergeant. I was in his face, yelling in his face. And for some reason, his spirit called that forth because I don't remember ever doing that with any of my other children. Okay. And I found out later, well, he's like, he has a tendency to maybe want to go in the military, but he also was in football, and his coach spoke to him like that. He was like, drill sergeant coach. And I asked him one day, I said, how would you have reacted in that situation had mommy never showed up as a drill sergeant in your life? He said, I probably would have cried. So I also get to see the divine perspective in all of it, that even maybe I had a contract to show up for him in his life in that way. So as much as I'm like, okay, I get a shift, but not beat myself up for how I showed up in his life, and trust that those are his perfect learning experiences. Just like I don't go back and wish my life had been different, because had I not had those experiences when I was a child, that was like the whole catalyst for my whole purpose in life, right? So I honor those people to this day for the lessons that I learned, the golden nuggets that I was able to gain from those experiences. So when you may show up in a very harsh or whatever way for your children, maybe just try to see the higher perspective in it. Yeah, choose to create something different in the future, whatever, but don't beat yourself up for what just happened. Just learn from it and move on, and just bless every moment. Bless the hard moments with the sad moments and the low moments and the high moments and the beautiful moments, and just honor and receive it all, because life is beautiful. And if you connect your heart to a defibrillator, not a defibrillator, the heart monitor, yes, it looks like this, right? What happens when it looks like this? You're dead. So life is going to look like this. So just get good at, and you're always going to have a problem or a challenge. Just get good at working through the challenges. Get good at embracing the moment instead of seeing it as something bad, sick, and wrong. Just observe it. What does it feel like? Do you like that feeling? No. How can you shift it? Move on. Shift it. Change it. And then create your life that way. Anyway, that's what I want to say. Just know that you're beautiful, and you're beautiful souls, and you're in charge. You've got these beautiful souls in your stewardship, and just continue working through, guiding them the best you can, and keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. You're still on mute, Ashley. There you go.
Great. Well, thank you again, Monica, for joining us. Anyone who wants to check out her Powerful Creator, My Little One books, and then we have links to the Facebook group. It's like group Angel Moms in Training, and the free video if you go to her site, which is monicaiglesiasauthor.com. Lots of good stuff. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me on, Ashley.
Until next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.